I have actually really been looking forward to this one. This one is deep. Actually, I'm gonna start out doing video like this right now, so you can see me, I'm poking at you. Then what I'll do is I'll actually break it down into like a little whiteboard training. Gotta figure that part out, we'll put it in. But this is really about recognizing your patterns of failure. We all have patterns of failure, and when we're not aware of it, it happens and we feel we're defeated. Again, in the different areas of life, whether it's relationships, my wife doesn't love me enough or doesn't do what I want, or vice versa. In business and finance, I don't get paid enough, or if I just made more money, or all the BS lies. If you see, we tend to anesthetize this whole thing of, it's not me, it's them, it's them, it's them. Part of this process is owning everything. It's not her, it's me. It's not my boss, it's me. It's not my business, it's me. It's not my employees, it's me. When I take ultimate accountability, ultimate responsibility, that's when change begins to happen. So today's lesson is patterns of failure. I'm gonna give you a brief synopsis. It probably won't make too much sense, but then we'll actually dive into the whiteboard work. But here's what happens. We have our thoughts, which is over here, and I'm gonna actually go through, I went through this with a client, and I won't say the name so I can use all this stuff. Well, I'm gonna show you actually how we went through of all the thoughts that surface when this person in their current life phase, how these thoughts actually lead to the emotions and what emotion stems from each thought once we identify it. And then from these emotions, how it actually leads to these actions we take and how it stems to that. Once we do that, that's really the framework. And the whole goal is to find out what happens when I allow thoughts to go unchecked and what the consequences are of that. So we're really gonna start working on accountability of our thoughts, and then how that negative emotions stem from those unchecked thoughts, and then finally the negative action that we take because of the negative emotions, because of those unchecked thoughts. And it all builds on top of each other. So really the lesson in short, before we dive a little deeper into this, is learning to question. Once we doubt something, then we can start working on it. I think I've shared this before in this group. One of my mentors was teaching me this lesson of how if we question anything, no matter how much we know it's true, we begin to doubt it internally. And so the example he gave is when he asked me my name. And we've gone through it before, so I'll spare the whole in-depth thing, but basically he said, how do you know your name is Mark? Well, it's on my birth certificate, it's what my parents call me. He stripped it down to saying, so you're telling me if someone calls you something long enough, you believe it. That was kind of one of the many times my world got rocked by one of my mentors that opened up just this floodgate of love and success and all sorts of stuff in different areas. So the whole goal is to question and to check the thoughts that come up. So the positive framework of this, we just went over the negative framework, pattern of failure. The positive framework for patterns of failure is as we check our thoughts that go, we start experiencing actual positive emotions, and from those positive emotions, we actually take healthy action. And you'll see, literally it all stems from thoughts. So we're gonna go ahead and dive right in to the actual learn and enjoy. So jumping right in, what we're gonna do is go into the actual lesson to show you what our patterns of failure consist of. So more specifically, understanding how your thoughts, emotions, and actions lead to this failure and how you can change that. So this is actually, I broke this down with a client, and so their name will be left out of it. However, this is the process to show you what we did, how we did it, to develop, to actually expose these patterns, and then to develop a new way of dealing with this. So as you can see, here are the actual thoughts. And so this person was experiencing some conflict, also dealing with some underlying other issues as well. But so the first thoughts that we were looking at, so the actions was kind of going off the deep end. So we reverse engineered and said, okay, let's look at what are your thoughts. So the way you can look at this is anytime I'm experiencing a negative experience or something out of my control I don't like, or a fight with my wife or husband or something going on, first we want to look at the thoughts. And so without judgment, we sat down and we said, okay, what are your thoughts? First thought was, I just need to leave. I need to run. I need to get out of here. Okay. What else? I need to figure this out. I have to have solution right now. And we just kept going. You can kind of see the theme. Well, something's not right. Something's broken. The pain's not real. Eventually, there's kind of this denial, wanting to bury it. There was fear of the unknown. The person identified, I'm in fight or flight. I want to run or I want to fight. Another thing that came up was, how can I manipulate the person or the situation? There was an uncomfortableness and a need to escape. So once we got down these core thoughts, we said, okay, now we're going to break down each thought and the emotion that is triggered by this thought. So we looked at that need to leave or to run. What was the actual emotion? This person leaked anxiety. I'm feeling anxious in this whole thing. There's anxiety. I'm freaking out. Okay, now let's address the thought process of needing to figure this out. There was tremendous amount of pressure. So it felt like there was this huge weight on his shoulders and had all this pressure of having to figure it out. Something's not right. Right away, that emotion that was linked was a thought of betrayal. These emotions of feeling betrayed. The pain is not real. This person's emotional aspect of that was a lack of trust. With fear, like we talked about, the emotion was uncertainty, not knowing the outcome, the fight or flight. It went from anger to helplessness, which is really interesting, cycling between that. I'm angry, I feel helpless. I'm angry, I feel helpless. How can I manipulate? A sense of control, wanting to control the situation. Identifying the thought of uncomfortableness, linking the emotion of pain to that. And then finally, the need to escape, feeling frozen or trapped in this situation. So I'm hoping you can see how these thoughts, once we actually write them down, we can get a clear understanding of the emotions we're experiencing. The first thing is becoming aware to label them so we can find out, oh, putting words to what I'm feeling. And then finally, we look at those emotions and see what are the actions that are stemmed from this emotion. And so from that anxiety, the action was wanting to quit the relationship, quit the issue that was popping up, abandon everything. From feeling that level of pressure of just wanting to give up and saying, screw it. That emotion of betrayal, the action was this blame, this victimization, this story that was going on before the person even kind of dug into what the reality was. The emotion of lack of trust, the actions were isolation, shutting down. The uncertainty, that emotion led to freezing, again, similar to shutting down. Anger and helplessness led to the action of retaliation or giving up. This sense of control, or this emotion of lack of control, needing to control, the action was to lie, to cheat. And the final two emotions, the emotion of pain and the action of overcompensation, or back to that victimization. And finally, that emotion of being frozen or trapped, the action was to run. So you can see this cycle. This cycle is circular. The thought triggers the emotion triggers the action, and then it just gets deeper and deeper. And you can see how, as these thoughts stack on each other, the emotions stack up, the actions stack up. That's how we spin out of control. And so what do? How do we recognize the pattern of failure and actually flip it to turn it into a pattern of success? And here's what we do. We actually question those initial thoughts. So the first thought of needing to leave or to run, we question that. Well, do I know for sure that I have to run, that I have to leave? Do I know without a shadow of the doubt that this is what I have to do? As we start questioning thoughts, we start experiencing new emotions. The next thought, needing to figure this out now. Question the thoughts. Well, do I really? And then we look for examples. Where else have I thought I had to figure it out? I didn't know the answer when I started, but the answer either revealed itself or I created a solution while I was in the process of it. And this helps to alleviate some of those previous emotions. It leads to new emotions. Something's not right. Question that thought. Well, does everything need to be right? What if some things are left? You can have fun with this, but the whole process is to engage a separate thought process, a separate line of action and question. So the next thought process, it's not real. Well, let's question that thought. Where is this good? Where is something not being real good? I like thinking of the movies. I actually pay to go see things that aren't real for my enjoyment. It helps get us out of this box thinking, this trap. Same thing with fear. Oh, I'm afraid. Well, where is fear good? We question thoughts to get a different outcome. The fight or flight. Well, they say there's 3 F's, right? Fight, flight, or fornicate. I don't know where your mind went on that one, but let's keep it clean. Let's keep it classy. But you know what I'm talking about. So there's other F's that we can turn to. So instead of wanting to fight or flight, think, well, what can I do to break that state? Oh, it'd be so much better if I started going towards leaning in instead of running. How can I manipulate? Well, manipulation's not bad. I want to learn how to manipulate myself so I can question my thoughts to get a different set of emotions and actions. I'm thinking you're starting to see where we're going with this. Same thing with that original thought of I'm uncomfortable. Good, I want to question that. Being uncomfortable is great. I actually look to be uncomfortable every single day because this means I'm growing. This means growth. I go to the gym and I'm sore. I go, good, I hit it, I crushed it. Anytime I'm uncomfortable, it means there's growth. We start linking different attachments to these initial thoughts. And finally, the example of needing to escape. Well, how do I make it look good when I don't want to escape? I know, so like an island, you know, it's like, well, shoot, I want to picture an island with, like Maui, where there's everything that I need. So, oh gosh, I don't need to escape. You make it look good. And as we question these thoughts, we get new emotions. It's okay not to know. Oh, my emotion is that's okay. Adventure and fun. I like that. Instead of that whole thought of, what was it, a fear of needing to figure it out. It's like, oh, that kind of leads to adventure. It leads to fun. How can I Columbo it? Curious George. You see how different thoughts or questioning thoughts lead to different emotions. Doesn't need to be. Well, you know what? It's not wrong. My emotion is, well, that's okay. Everything's not black and white. Where is this good? That questioning thought. Oh, I want to expose it. What's the new emotion? I exposed it. That's great. There's light. I can walk in light. Where is fear good? Safety, preservation. It keeps us alive. It's kept us as a human species for all these hundreds of thousands of years. The other F, we want to do a complete different other response. Manipulating self, feel what I want. Can you imagine a life where no matter what's going on, I get to feel what I want when I want? That is the type of manipulation I want in my life. This means growth. Well, anything that takes work is worth having. And finally, make it look good. I like doing, you know what? Well, checkmate. I got this. So those are the emotions that we're starting to feel in these new patterns, taking that pattern of failure to the pattern of success. And so again, as we're coming into the home stretch, looking at the new actions, it's okay to not know. Well, guess what? Now I made it a game. How do I set the game up to win? The emotions of adventure and fun. I feel alive. I get to find clues. Success leaves clues. It's not wrong. I get to be creative. How many ways can I figure that it doesn't have to be right, doesn't have to be wrong? Let's get creative in this. Exposing it, the truth, the rebirth. I get to take these actions of starting new from a new perspective. Safety and preservation. Well, that's exciting. The other response, yeah, let's do it. Feeling what I want, the rush, the excitement. Anything worth having takes work. Yes, I actually enjoy the hustle. It's fun making it the game like earlier. And then checkmate, no matter what game I play, I win. See how these new actions come from these new emotions just from the original thoughts and questioning them. So we want to break it down to the framework. The negative framework is unchecked thoughts lead to these negative emotions. These negative emotions lead to negative and unhealthy actions, and that's when our life spirals out of control. But guess what? The negative framework, we flip it, and now we can look at it from the positive framework. And this is the framework I really want you to work on, is when I have an unchecked thought, check it. Checkmate it. Check it again. And what we find is when we check these thoughts, we start to have positive emotions, and we have positive emotions, at least a positive and healthy action. So what I want to leave you with is for ongoing success, there's really 3 steps. We understand the framework now. First step is external feedback. How do I give my spouse permission to give me feedback? My friends, my life group that we've talked about. We want to have this external and ongoing feedback loop. Number 2 is change the meaning. When we attach meaning, that is what we feel. So what we focus on, we feel, and it's these emotions that give us feeling. So when I am attaching a different meaning,
I'm going to feel something completely different. So understand the meaning you're attaching to these thoughts so you can change that. And finally, the third step is being vulnerable and open. Life is in session. This is what it's all about. The more open and vulnerable we can be, the deeper our relationships become, the more we get from life. So again, I just wanted to dive into this. This is how we distinguish our patterns of failure and flip it in order to have patterns of success, and it is ongoing success.